Good morning, everyone. Our first animation today is going to look at some satellite data starting from last night. So this was the quite vigorous wave that was coming out of the Four Corners states that over the next about 36 hours is going to move straight toward the Great Lakes and through Ontario. And along the way, it's going to spread some pretty heavy snow. And to the south, we're going to be talking about more severe weather. But before we get into that, I do want to show you that, again, right in through here. Watch this area, parts of Texas. This is now the second dust storm we've seen this week. This was another pretty powerful one born on 30 to 40 mile an hour winds that ripped across parts of central Texas. And it's just another indicator of some of the longer term drought stresses that we have in this area. In today's report, I do include the newest spring update from the IRI multi-model group out of Columbia University. And also have a quick discussion about soil moisture. Again, we're going to cover that in more depth in tonight's in-depth report. That report tonight will come out quite late. I have an event this evening and I won't get a chance to record it until about 10 o'clock. So we'll make sure that gets out, but it'll be out quite late tonight. Well, over the night time, we did see this low come out into the plains and it did produce some very heavy snow into this area. But as you watch on infrared, these are the storms that are popping up here. So very cold cloud tops indicate deep convection, and the storms that went through here produced some strong straight line winds and some hail. And then as the sun was rising this morning, we can kind of see where those storms are as they cross the mid-Mississippi River Valley right here into parts of Arkansas. There's a tornado watch out for this area right now. I'll show you that in just a few moments here, but I am waiting hopefully to see this pretty soon. In fact, let's see if we can get a quick update to see if they've changed it. It appears that we don't yet have all of the snowfall data in yet, so this is through last night at 6 p.m. But again, we can see how much snow this did put down in the Four Corners states. And also you can see the recent snows that came into parts of Montana at high elevation here, but that's some of the snow that came in. And here, of course, is the snow that was from the blizzard. There was a kind of a two-part blizzard here, one while the snow was falling and then a ground blizzard that followed in and around kind of I-29 here and I-94. Okay, from there, I would like to show you the last 72 hours of total accumulated precipitation and have a quick discussion about some of these storms. This has been an area that's been repeatedly hit with a lot of severe weather so far this year. We've seen very heavy rainfall, and many of the river systems in here are swollen and flooded in this area, and we see quite a bit more precipitation coming to this area, not just in the next 10 to 15 days, but possibly the next 3 months. So we're going to have to watch it carefully. But I was keeping an eye on where the active storms were this morning. So this is kind of live shot here about 7 o'clock this morning on where those storms were located. So very active throughout Tennessee, Kentucky, and then back here into parts of the Boot Hill, Missouri, down into Arkansas. And again, the Storm Prediction Center has got a large area right here where they have a tornado watch. This is until noon. We need to keep a very close eye on these storms as they cross the river. Now from here, I would like to show you what we're anticipating today for severe weather once these storms cross the river, because the Storm Prediction Center is a large area of enhanced risk. If we break this down by category, we can see a large area in Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama that does have an enhanced risk, not an enhanced risk, but a 10% hatched. I'm going to be very clear on the terminology here, of having a tornado within 25 miles of any given point, up to EF2 in intensity. So we need to be careful of what's going on in this area today. The wind threat extends into the Tennessee and Ohio Valley and down to the Gulf Coast. And although the hail threat is smaller, these storms did have a history of producing hail yesterday. So we need to be on the lookout for this. The other side of the storm is going to have quite a bit of snow in it. So if we just take a look at the probability over the next 72 hours of getting at least 4 inches of snow, we can see there's going to be a stripe in through here coming out of Kansas and Nebraska today, but going across northern Missouri, Iowa, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, Michigan, right there. Pretty good chance of picking up quite a bit of snow. And the National Digital Forecast Database has kind of got that same area honed in for the potential of maybe seeing over 6 inches in this region. Heaviest could be right up here along the coast near Milwaukee, so that's what we're going to be on the lookout for. So to show you the system, let's go right to the high-res NAM, and we're going to start this off at 8 a.m. We're going to play through the middle of the day today and into this evening. So again, we can see the snow curling in on the back side of this, some light snow here. The heaviest will be to the north. And you do see that line right in through. That's where the main frontal boundary will be, possibly initiating those strong to severe storms. There's the risk of some ice in southern Michigan moving into Ontario, maybe hitting like London, Ontario area later today. And this system will press east, bring the front over the Appalachian Mountains by tomorrow morning. But as it continues to stretch farther and farther to the north, that front just loses its punch. This system is not digging, it's lifting. And as a result, we're going to see moisture coming into parts of Virginia, North Carolina, all the way down to here to Florida. But we know there's some long-standing drought issues in and around this part of Virginia, and this isn't going to be correcting any of that. It's going to come through with some moisture, but not much. Then we go into a quieter weekend. There's a little clipper running through the Canadian prairie and some possible lake effect snow on Friday. But then we start off the weekend here, for most places, relatively dry with higher pressure. But as you know, that doesn't last long. And this is what we expect the jet stream to look like on Saturday. But what I want you to see is its evolution into next week. So as I play through Sunday, into Monday and Tuesday, much colder air, watch this, pushes into this deep trough. And the flow, highly amplified, will send waves ejecting out of the Rocky Mountains here. This is a snowmaker for the Rockies, for the Cascades of Sierra Nevada. Look at that flow. That's great to see that onshore flow there. And it's the type of setup that will produce a large winter storm somewhere in the midsection of the country. So we can look at it by going to our multi-model analysis here. So we've seen through the next couple of days already. So let's get to the weekend. This is Saturday going into Sunday. Outside of some very light snow, the big thing we're going to watch on Monday is this cold air advancing. There it is on the GFS, and you can see it also in the same location here on the European model. There's a cutoff low way off the shore here, but the main story will be this cold air that's advancing through the Pacific Northwest and the Canadian prairie and northern plains. So the European model, I have felt as though it's had a better handle on this pattern, and it's statistically performing better right now than the GFS, but we need to see the timing of these next couple of systems. So here's next Wednesday, when the deepest of the troughs is moving through the west. This is the snowmaker I was telling you about. And that trough dives in, and apparently, you can see the difference in the timing here, but has a pretty good chance of putting down quite a bit of snow in the northern plains, upper Midwest. See it again here. I'm worried about the risk for ice. I'll show you the maps in a few moments. Somewhere throughout the Midwest into the Northeast, and that system possibly lifts into New England, maybe bringing some snow into New England. Some of the first time we've seen snow here in a while. So that system's out, and notice the onshore flow throughout the rest of the week coming into California. It's in both models, and I love seeing this because we need more snowpack. And don't rest on this pattern. It's going to finish strong at the end of February and keep going into the beginning of March. So, is there any ensemble support for that late week system next week? This is next Thursday morning, and the L's represent where the different ensemble members are putting down low pressure. And so you see this whole area showing up, which just means that as that trough digs and ejects, we will likely get a storm system that's going to move through this area. So there's some good ensemble support here. Plus, look at the size of this ridge coming out of western Canada into the northwest and northern plains. All right, just to show you a couple other maps, ice potential, this is a single run. I'm just trying to identify that this storm system has the capability of putting down some ice. With all that cold air kind of undercutting the warmer that'll run over the top of it, while this may not be the exact placement, I want you to be aware that this storm system late next week will have the potential to do that. It'll also have the potential for putting down some very heavy snow throughout all of the mountain ranges in the west. You notice here the Rockies, central and northern, the Cascades, the Sierra Nevada, we're all looking here at a 1 to 3 foot event at highest elevation, which is fantastic. This is great news to see this much snow coming in at the end of February. We need another good push in March to ensure that our moisture here is in good shape going into spring. Okay, lastly, the week 2 outlook continues to show above normal precip for California. We're drier in the southern plains where we've been seeing these repeated dust storms, but systems still try to eject here and then run like that. So you can see it in both models. Even though you see the below normal risk, this is not a guarantee that there won't be any precipitation here. I'll be watching for that very carefully. I do know this about the temperatures, though. They're about to change considerably. Here's the large warm sector still open today. This is going to support the strong storms, but that's eliminated tomorrow, going into Friday. As we move into the weekend, though, the pattern starts to relax a little bit by Sunday. More mild conditions for a lot of places across the country for this point in February. But then you're going to start to see Monday into Tuesday and Wednesday the advancement of that cold air, and this is what sets up that track right in through this area. The subtropical ridge here, the deep trough coming in there, just going to skirt right between this temperature gradient. That's where we expect to see the storm track late next week. In terms of temperatures, though, how far to the south does that cold air make it? As we look at our 5-day sliding window of temperature anomalies, we see here getting out, this would be the 20th through the 25th of February, and then the last 5 days of February, and then going into the very beginning of March. So can the cold air stay anchored west In the northern plains and Canadian Prairie, it is likely. Will it advance all the way to the mid-south and southeast? It doesn't seem as though it will. Any shot at colder air here will be just that, a brief shot at colder air. The last thing in today's report is the newest update from the European model in South America, which we kind of labeled and discussed a few things. We'll do a deeper dive into this tonight when I release the in-depth video. Again, that'll be coming out pretty late tonight. But I hope you all have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks.